Dalal will not mind my saying that I would have introduced the organizers by saying, money is life and life is money. We are gathered here today to release the 10th edition of Kanga Pa Law and Practice of Income Tax. The first edition was in 1950, when Mr. Palkhiwala was just 30 years old and 5 years at the bar. I do not know whether any other book which has become a locus classicus was written by a person aged 30. One would call this achievement similar to what Wolfgang Mozart achieved in music. And music was one of the things in which Mr. Palkhiwala would have shone as a violinist if the mundane subject of tax had not occupied his time. The 10th edition, we call it the 10th edition, but we should remember that there were two supplements in between. Supplements to the 6th and 7th editions, and there were also reprints of the book on two occasions. Reprint in the same year, which shows the popularity of the book. And I am sure before 1915 comes, there will be a reprint of the 10th edition. The present book has several new and innovative features. What was previously relegated to additional cases, is that too loud or too soft? What was previously relegated to the additional cases in a part of the book has now been incorporated in the main edition itself, which gives you at one place all the cases on the subject, and you don't have to turn to another part of the book or another part of the two volumes to find out what were the additional cases on the book, on the subject. One of the features of a book which is to give you food for thought. It is not to be just a compendium of cases. One has to be forthright in his views, express them, and they may be right, they may be wrong. Mr. Datta's views are mainly right, but nevertheless, one has to express it. And Mr. Datta has not hesitated to comment adversely on decided cases or on certain provisions in the Act. He has squarely condemned the view which has been taken by the Supreme Court in connection with the scope of Section 147 regarding the reopening of assessments. He has also, in very bold language, condemned the decision of the full bench of the Kerala High Court in the case of CIT versus Wood West, where it has overruled the earlier decision in the case of CIT versus Travancore Cement. He has not hesitated to say how the Supreme Court was not correct in interpreting what is meant by income derived from an undertaking. The Supreme Court, in the case of liberty, gave a very restricted meaning to that term. And Mr. Datar has pointed out that one must have a wider meaning of what is the scope of derived from. Indeed, in one case, deposit with an electricity company by a factory for obtaining a power connection. The interest on that was held to be not derived from the factory. The factory could not have functioned without the electricity. But nevertheless, the deposit and the interest is not regarded as derived from the undertaking. What is remarkable is that his criticism is not confined to cases or decisions which are adverse to the SSE. He has roundly condemned the decision of the Supreme Court, which has been quoted so often today in Azadi Bachao and in Turquoise, where the Supreme Court gave a revolutionary meaning to the words "may be taxed" appearing in the double taxation avoidance agreements. The Supreme Court said if a power is given to a source country to tax the income, it means the resident country has given up its power to tax that. Mr. Datar disagrees with that view. But let us remember that this view gives real meaning to avoidance of double tax as contrasted with relief from double tax. And this decision, as Mr. Datar has said, is also condemned internationally. But it is perhaps a matter for debate as to what will be the final fate of this subject. Also, there are decisions which have been taken. Mr. Datar has dealt with them and has condemned certain views which have been taken. I would just invite your attention to pages 1720 and 1740. I don't want to labor the point further because, as was very eloquently stated, I have to say a few words. Let us also remember that in this, Mr. Datar has stated that it is his intention to make the addition a triennial one.
Sir.
But please remember one thing.
Sir, people at the back are not able to use it.
It's not worth listening. Let us. Is that okay? Let us remember. Let us remember, and I hope Mr. Datar will keep that in mind, that there must be a book release on 16th January 2020, because that will be the birth centenary of Mr. Bhakti. And if I may also advise Mr. Datar, please get a more competent book releaser. So, there is one thing which I always think of when I think of Mr. NAP. That the English language is something fantastic. Really he was called NAP because he had time only for a nap and never a good night's sleep, because he was working always late into the early morning hours. As Longfellow said, the heights by great men reached and kept were not attained by sudden flight, but they, whilst their companions slept, were toiling upward in the night. And one thing which Mr. Palkhiwala's life brings up is a contradiction in two philosophical thinkings. One is that if you have the will, you will overcome all difficulties. The other is, what is destined will happen. Two a bit contradictory. But Mr. Palkhiwala's life illustrates both of them. In his early days, he had a stammer. And can you imagine a person with a stammer becoming the most erudite advocate of a subject? He had writer's cramps. I think even later come to his life. Can you imagine a writer of books having writer's cramps? So that shows the will to overcome. And what is destiny? Mr. Palkhiwala applied for a job as a lecturer in English. The post was given to a lady who had teaching experience. Mr. Palkhiwala applied for joining the Indian Civil Service. He made the first attempt where he was not successful. The second attempt he could not complete because of a disease which had spread in New Delhi. But that shows you fate. Otherwise, if he had been selected as a lecturer, he might have ended up as the Vice Chancellor of the university. If he had